Episode 2 of the off season, and we have a club champion, Jeff White, joining us. Jeff, thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure, Ben.
It is grand final week, 20 years on since Melbourne's last grand final. Obviously didn't end the way we would have liked, but that 2000 season as a whole must have been one of the more enjoyable ones in your career.
Yeah, it was, and it's quite scary to think that was 20 years ago that unfolded. But the whole season itself was just fantastic. And you recall middle of the year we had a few games where we got beaten by a considerable amount. One of them in particular being Carlton, and then to play off in the qualifying final against Carlton and come back the way we did, it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I even brought back a lot of memories the other night with the Brownlow because Shane won that Monday. So then we roll into Tuesday, and just the whole week. At the end of the day, the result was not what we wanted, but the experience for the whole week was one I'll never forget, and one I cherish and share with my kids today.
It was a massive week. You touched on Shane Woden. Obviously, a bit of a surprise result.
S. Powell, 1 vote. Melbourne, S. Woden, 2 votes. Melbourne, A. Uze, 3 votes. And therefore, I have much pleasure in declaring Shane Woden is the winner of the 2000 Brownlow Medal.
What was that night like to be a part of?
Yeah, unbelievable, actually. I think my first Brownlow appearance was 98, and growing up as a Kilda fan, Robert Harvey was my idol, and he won 98. So that was just an amazing experience in itself, being in the Brownlow, then seeing your idol win the Brownlow, but actually being on the table and going through the votes. And then what you start doing as a table, you just start thinking about the actual games that are coming up and how we played and what the result was. Did it go in our favour? And we actually finished off that year pretty good. And we knew that he had a pretty good game against West Coast over in Perth. That was our round 22 game, I think. And it was extraordinary. It was a massive jubilation, and we knew that while he had a great year, he ended up winning the best and fairest for the club as well. But it was just a wave of emotion, and we were sipping water all night. So it's very different to how others have celebrated in the past. But we knew we had a job to do that week, but it just set up the week the best way we could have, I guess, and not going the result that we had, but it was just, incredible experience for him and the team members and coaching staff and people involved in the club.
You touch on that week. It was actually your 100th game, the grand final. You got that to worry about. You got a massive training at Junction Oval, a grand final parade, playing in front of 96,000 people. Was it just something you'll never forget?
No, I still, like, now it's grand final week. It's every year I reminisce on that sort of stuff. And at that time, I was living with David Neitz and Jeff Farmer, so the three of us were an integral part of that push to the grand final. And everywhere we went during the week, I remember going out for dinner. I think it might have been Tuesday or Wednesday night, and we were just sitting there in a quiet space, just the three of us, and we had a bottle of wine sent to our table. What the hell? And we asked a staff member who that came from, and it was actually Sam Newman, who was in the other room trying to I don't know his intentions, but throw a bit of joke our way. And everywhere we went, at the supermarket, and because it was Melbourne versus Essendon, 2 Victorian clubs, no matter where you went, there was red and black, there was red and blue, and the whole experience, the whole week was just one I'll never forget. The parade through the city and training, just having people rock up at training, just even for the recovery. I mean, we played the Friday night. We had recovery on the Saturday. There was heaps of people there. We had recovery generally on the Monday. There was heaps of people there as well. And the whole week was unbelievable. And that's what finals footy is all about. Finals footy is very entertaining. There's a lot of people at training, but when it comes to the grand final, it's another level.
You mentioned living with Neitz and Farmer. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was good. The Wiz lived with us throughout 2000. So Nita and I credit his All-Australian result in 2000 from our cooking. So we're hanging on to that, even though we're bad cooks. It was great. We experienced a lot that year, and the success of the club, and Neale was appointed captain that year. So it was a huge celebration throughout the entire 22 weeks leading into the finals and so on and so forth. So, no, it was good fun. We still speak about it today.
You touched on a little earlier the qualifying final. When I speak to Melbourne supporters, a lot say that 2000 game is their favourite in memory. 21 points down, three-quarter time. I think Brad Green had a massive last quarter. What was that game like to be a part of, just to book your way into a prelim?
Yeah, well, I often say that too. People often ask me what was the biggest highlight of your career, and I think that final against Carlton was certainly. I mean, like I said, we played them during the year. And I think they beat us by 100 points at the MCG, and just them and Essendon were the two standout clubs. But we were there in our own right, and just the wave of momentum we had going to that third quarter and into the last quarter, and skinny little number 18 Brad Green popping up, Cameron Bruce, Andrew Lee and Charlie Ooze, and we just found that we just couldn't be stopped out of the centre. We just had such a great influx of guys coming through, and we got our rotations right, and we just were able to drive it forward. And hearing that final siren, I was standing next to Matty Collins when he had the ball in his hand on the wing, and it was huge. It was huge for us, and we were certainly the underdogs, and of course being 21 points down at three-quarter time and coming back the way we did just showed that we just had a never give up attitude, and we had that throughout the whole year. And it was just it was great opportunity for this young group to get through, and that was one to remember.
Skipping to that prelim, it was the second prelim of your career. 1998, you went down to North Melbourne, got a bit of revenge in this one. Was there a whole lot of momentum just pushing the group at this stage? Like a 50-point win in a prelim is a pretty significant one.
Yeah, we had a lot of things that sort of went against us in the first prelim in 98. I think going back then too, it was the old system, not that it is now, the top four and the bottom four. So a few things went against us. So when we came up against North Melbourne again in the prelim, we were prepared. We knew it was our time. We were very confident of that. And we just really even though they were the reigning premiers, we just knew that it was our time. We had everything right. We had momentum at the end of the year. We'd beaten sides by considerable margins, and it wasn't just getting over the line. We beat West Coast over there by a considerable margin. We came back and we had a great win against Carlton. So there's a lot of momentum, and from the get-go, we went, put the foot down, and we never looked back. So it was one that we knew that we were very confident we were going to win.
Unscathed. Oh, Farmer clever to Powell. Very clever by the Wizard. Finish it off with a goal. Look at this. Bend it back. Back it comes. The Wizard is in town. And he'll be there next week. Centre stage.
And a bit of a clinic from Jeff Farmer that day as well.
Yeah, it was out cooking again. See, I keep mentioning this, Anita keeps holding on to it. The Wizard just had an outstanding year that year. I mean, you just only have to go back to the Queen's birthday one and what he was able to do in the second half. He just he was just there when we needed him. It was just an outstanding performance by him, and across the board too. I mean, you've got to get out of the centre, you've got to get it to him in the forward line. You've got to be able to set up your behind the ball structures, and we just it was like clockwork that night when we beat North Melbourne.
Essendon were obviously a pretty strong team that year, dropped us to one game, 40 scoring shots to 20 in the grand finals. A bit of a tough one. Do you feel like they were just too good in the end? Is that how you look back at it?
Yeah, I think they really suffocated us. They put us in, I think it was the second quarter from memory. We really couldn't get out of our back line. There were a lot of scoring shots, as you mentioned, and some of them were points in the second quarter. We just couldn't get out of our back 50. So they really suffocated us and were able to put scoreboard pressure on us. And yeah, I still haven't watched the game to this day, so I can't really give you a full report on, obviously the result wasn't what we wanted, but yeah, I can't really debrief and tell you how it unfolded. But I just remember that second quarter just felt like it was in their forward half a lot, and they gained a lot of momentum from that. And, we went into the game very confident. There's a lot of things that were happening in their camp. If you remember, James Herb was having some unfortunate, but there was a few things that were actually unfolding and happening, and we had a really good preparation. So we were obviously extremely confident. We had beaten North Melbourne. So we'd won the prelim. We'd gone that way. So yeah, it was just unfortunate. They just were too good on the day, and but the experience itself was one I'll never forget.
We had a pretty star-studded side back then. It was a really good group. Does it feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity, I guess, never actually winning one with that team?
Yes and no. I think a lot of players grew from that. Cameron Bruce, a lot of younger players grew from that side, and so that was the opportunity for them to grow into their positions and grow as leaders. And Brad Green turned out to be a captain in the end. So, no, look, you never take anything for granted, and we gave it our best shot. We did as a side, and we showed that we earned our spot to be in that grand final. We just at the end of the day they were just too good on the day, and credit to them because they had an outstanding year, only losing one game, and that was, I think it was round 22 against the Bulldogs where they flooded, and that was at the end of the day, that was what unfolded, and we definitely as a team, as a coaching staff, and as a club hold our head up high on that year.
We were coached by the great Neale Daniher back then. What was a pep talk like from Neale, or did he give any good sprays to you throughout his time as coach?
Well, there was plenty. There was always plenty from Neale, but very constructive sprays and motivational ones. And the thing that you look at now with his push for M&D and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that was Neale. He was always there for his players. It wasn't about him. It was about others and what you could bring to the table. And one of the things that I hear a lot of coaches talk about, even today, about in their press conferences, is about focus on the process, that the scoreboard look after itself. And they had a snapshot of Nathan Buckley just recently. I think it was the 3/4 time his speech to his players in the 2018 Grand Final, and that was one of the things he said was, focus on the process, don't worry about the result. And Neale was a massive advocate for that. We actually had players during our time, if they were caught looking at the scoreboard, Neale would actually drag them because he wanted them to focus on the next play. He wanted them to focus on their role. And there's a lot of life lessons that I took from him being the coach and a mentor to me. And there's a lot of players that would say the same thing. So he was like a father figure to me and father figure to a lot of players that played for the Red and Blue.
It's fantastic. On a personal note, do you stay in touch with many of the boys from that era?
Yeah, all the time. We catch up a lot. Been a bit. We've had a lot of Zoom calls and catch ups with a few beers with Hoppy and Nita, and I still speak to Stinger and Ooze, who's now been appointed as assistant coach at Melbourne. It's great. I still speak a lot. I just played golf with Brucey just recently while he was up here in the hub. Catch up with Jack Watts this week. So he's a young kid. I didn't play with him, but it's just that red and blue, that connection. Powley, Riggers, a lot of guys that I still keep in touch with. Even the Doctors, Jackie Emerton. Even though I'm based in Queensland, they're always having a holiday in Queensland, so I get to catch up with them all the time. So it's good, and I've seen a lot of games this year too, which has been really beneficial for my family because we don't have that. We haven't had that privilege in the past. I know that a lot of Victorians and a lot of Melbourne supporters would have loved to go to the games this year, but as a positive from us as a family, I've been able to share that with my kids, which has been really special.
Your son, Kalani, is a good footballer, I hear. Any chance of a father-son? I'm sure a lot of D's fans would like to see another White running around.
I would like to see that. No, I don't put any pressure on him. He loves footy. He's always loved footy. And my other twin, Kai, loves footy as well. So, ironically, they play for a club down here. They play for Surfers Paradise Demons. So they both wear the red and blue. They both don the 34, which is really cool to see. And look, I really love that the kids just play sport. They're very outdoors, golf, basketball. They love their swimming, being up in Queensland. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. He's 6 foot. He's just clocked over 6 foot as a 13-year-old. He does a lot of things that I didn't do at his age. So, yeah, look, it's there if he wants it. I know he's passionate about footy, so we'll see how it unfolds.
Just lastly, you touched on the fact you're in Queensland. Grand finals there this weekend. Have you got a tip for us, Geelong or Richmond?
Oh, well, I've commentated a few games of Richmond. I think their side this year has been better than their 2 premiership years. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a close game. I really, sincerely, I wish Gary Ablett all the best. He's been a close friend of mine for a while now, and yeah, I really, his last game, he's been an absolute superstar of the game, and I hope he goes out on a winning note. But I hope he plays well, and I guess personally for me and for our family, that's where we're sort of headed towards. Whether that's the Geelong, but we really want Gaz to play well, and we're looking forward. I'm looking forward to a close game. I'm really looking forward to Grand Final day. As I say to my friends up here, there's probably 2 days where you stay home, and that's Grand Final and the Melbourne Cup, and this is one of them. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Jeff, thanks very much for your time and your insight. Really enjoyed it.
No worries. Thank you, Ben. And I'm saying hello to all the Melbourne supporters. Wonderful result for Christian Petrarca just recently, and hopefully we can carry that momentum that we finished this year into next year in 2021.